we're good. So cool. Okay.
So I wanted to have this conversation with you because there's been a lot happening in the world, right? We have this big expansion of consciousness happening. And we have expansion of consciousness tools and retreats and workshops, right? And this week, what's been coming up for me a lot has been like, what does the new conscious relationship look like? And then, and then I received this call from you, and I haven't heard from you. I've been so interested in what you've been up to. And I just like, for the record, I have two little ones. They might be around in the beginning of this call. And I, so I'm kind of in a bubble, right? I'm going through an awakening as well, but mine's in like this family bubble. You're on like the front lines. So you're like in the midst of like witnessing what's happening and what does this really mean. So tell us about the front lines. Tell us about what's been going on in the front lines of the awakening world, and where you're located.
I moved from California to Fort Lauderdale about 4 months ago. So now I'm in Florida. And I have been on this awakening journey, I guess, like full force since my mom died 10 years ago. Before that, I started doing yoga at 12. So something in my soul always craved something deeper.
Mhm.
And here I am now, like really, really like full on, like trying to run a business that is all about awakening, like hanging out just with people who are all about awakening, dating, I guess, men who are more spiritual, more into meditate. And it's a journey because something happens when you're awakened. Like you're so like expanded and full of love that you almost like want to share. So like it almost feels like it's really like common for the spiritual community to have like kind of like a lot of polyamory, I would
Mhm.
say, because everyone is so open and expanded, and that makes you want to like have sex
Bang.
with everyone.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm
so
sure,
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
This is what I want to talk about today. I want to know how the banging is going.
And I'm sure this is also happening in like the family structure, except like in the traditional family structure, you don't like talk about it. It's like a secret. There is like, they call it infidelity and cheating and all these like negative connotations versus like in the spiritual world, it's like, oh, like good for you. Like,
Give us like a window from like a mom perspective, right? Where I'm like tucked away in the suburbs or whatever. Like tell me what like this may be like a glimpse into what does a weekend in the awakening world look like in the
okay.
and you've been single, right?
I've been single since my like really long-term relationship where I thought I was gonna have, the husband, the baby. Like I thought he was my soulmate. And I believe that he was, and I believe we have multiple soulmates in this lifetime and like multiple teachers that come and help us on our path, because that's what the other half is. Like we're here to like propel each other up, right? So 3 years now, but I like really closed off my heart when we ended our relationship and like went like on a whole year of like not having sex because I was like, I get so attached, figuring out my attachment styles and trying to work through that.
Mm.
And now like I'm getting to a point where, oh, I even like messaged him like recently and I like just told him off, and then I forgave him and like my heart just like opened even more. So
Mm.
now my heart is to a point where like it's like ready, like it wants to embrace this like divine masculine, like I want someone to take a seat at my throne, like, and I want to be his like divine queen
Mm.
and like take
Mm.
care of him and love on him and like,
Mm.
oh. So this weekend, funny story, not funny because I feel like so much pain and
Mm.
like these waves of like pain that are coming through. And it's not just him, it's like of all the past. It just my heart like keeps cracking open.
This sounds good. Cracking open sounds good, but does it
But
feel
no, it feels like horrible. Like it feels like I even
tight on my
I
microphone?
even had like a tightening in my belly, in my abdomen, as if someone like punched me when he like left this morning. So like I really like grew attached in one weekend to someone who just showed up at my doorstep, basically. Uh,
Give us the deets. Give us a glimpse into what is like a conscious interaction. What can that look like? And like what does it stir up and how do you know if it is one? I'm just so fascinated from my suburban mom bubble.
so a friend, a really good friend, came down to visit, and he brought a friend. And my really good friend ended up staying somewhere else, but his friend, who I didn't know, like ended up coming over and staying with me, like on the extra futon, like after we enjoyed this beautiful birthday celebration, this beautiful conscious party where we did breath work and like activation. So super opening, like opening the body, opening the heart, opening the mind. And at first, honestly, I didn't find him attractive. Like, I'm like, oh, that's not like the type of man that I go for. Like, I usually like them like dark and tan and like, a little like beard and scruffy, and like he
Uh-huh.
did have really nice muscles and like a really nice body. So I was like, that's hot. But then the next morning, we wake up and like start hanging out, and all of a sudden he starts like up, opening his mouth, and everything that comes out of his mouth is just like brain orgasm. Like everything that
What is
he's
it? What kind of things is he talking about?
just we talk about consciousness and our dreams and the evolution of humanity, and like how it's our job to do it now, and like what does that entail for him, what does that entail for me, how we're serving at the moment, like how we'd like to show up more. And then like being the coach that I am, I'm like, why aren't you like going live and recording this?
Mm-hmm.
And he like right away takes action and makes this beautiful video, which actually I just watched and like masturbated to because I
Yeah.
missed him already. And
Because
it was so,
because why?
huh?
What about it turned you on? Because I'm fascinated about this.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down some things. It's funny, he used the word audacity, which is what your new brand is becoming. So audacity to believe that our dreams are possible
Mm.
right here, right now, and inspiring people believe that major dreams can happen right now, not 20 years from now. Take the
Mm.
action necessary to make it possible. Like just,
Mm.
it's just these motivational things that
Mm.
inspire, and like inspire something within me that I feel that is within me. And
Mm.
because he spoke, like I feel like I have more permission to speak, like more permission to share. Like why am I not coming on here and like raising the consciousness of humanity? Because I know when I speak, because my part of the thing, I think human design, like my throat is defined, I'm here to speak. When I speak, people really listen and resonate. And I feel like sometimes so locked, like so like tight.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like we did this amazing breath work yesterday, which is part of the
Okay.
story.
So
And
yeah. So backing up, he comes over. He spends the night. You guys wake
it
up having these deep conversations. At first, you're like, I don't know about this guy, but then you're
I
having
mean, he's cool. Like, yeah, but then as
yeah.
soon as he
But you
started
weren't like
having,
you weren't pulled in by his looks, right? It was his mind
no,
and his
yeah,
what he's talking about, and then you started to open more because
yeah,
you were resonating at the same frequency. And then what happened?
yes. Wow, that's such a great way to put it. Yeah, the resonance. And then we went on a run, and oh, first we had breakfast. We went on a run. We went cold plunge. We did another breath work at a place called The Space in Fort Lauderdale. It was like so like beautiful, like just to do these activities together with someone. Like this is what I do on a normal day basis. So like doing it with someone else who shares the passion, who's like excited to go to these things and like wants to do these things is like such a turn on, right? And while we were on a run, we were talking about conscious sex.
Okay, I'm gonna
And
relocate while I listen.
okay,
No, you can keep talking. I have my
okay.
sweaty divine masculine here, but keep talking.
Yeah, so we started talking about conscious sex and like how sex is not to be like overused or abused. It has to be with intention. Anyone who you interact with sexually, like, whoa, you look so beautiful flowing through your space right now. Anyone you're interacting with, like you're like you're sharing energy. So like we started talking about it. He was telling me how he read the book, The Way of a Superior Man, which all men should read. And I read some of it, but that like really turned me on. And I was like, let's have sex. Like, I want to have conscious sex. Like, take me to enlightenment. So that happened. And then I think we went to another, oh no, he left to hang out with my close friend and like a house full of women, beautiful women sanctuary that they're creating. I stayed home, whatever, and then he came back and we had sex, and it wasn't that
Oh, was
great.
that your first time having sex?
Yeah, yeah. So first night he spent the night nothing. Second night we like after the conversation and after like the full day of like doing these activities together and talking and talking and talking, like we had sex and it wasn't that great. I'm like it was good, but it was like okay. And I'm like okay, like cool. But then we kept hanging out and I was just like, oh, like I really like to do this. Like I really like to receive this way when I'm having sex. And he's like, I like it slower, like
Mhm.
this. So like as soon as we communicated about those two things, like what we like, and we both like implemented,
What do you
it
like?
was so like, huh?
What was your
What?
tip for him? Just curious.
I really like a lot more like foreplay in a certain way with like your like the fingers. Oh my
Fine.
God, this is
Okay.
we're sharing so much. I love it.
Okay, good.
Like, do
Okay,
people
so I
talk
was
about this
just
on
I
YouTube?
just wanted curiosity. Okay, go ahead.
I really like the fingering like part, like when it's moving like in and out versus like anything else. So like really
What
activates my
what a
my
divine,
G spot.
what a
Huh?
divine woman to be able to say, hey, I like this. I want that, right? To be able to like know that. I just want to say that that's like it sounds simple to communicate something like that, but I mean, I've been with Brad for like 8 years and it took us like so long to get to those types of communication. So I want to say that these interactions you're having with these men, that you are starting at a pretty advanced communication stage, right? Like,
Oof. I want to preface. I forgot to mention something.
uh-huh.
When we first started talking, oh, he's 28 years old. I'm 35. So like right away, my head's like, this is just like, let's just have fun.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, he hasn't gone through Saturn return yet. Like he's gonna go through major changes. His human design profile is a 1-3, so he's all about the self here, like on this earth, like to do the work, but mostly like for himself. So like right away, my brain is like, oh, he's not the one. Like he's too young. He's not there yet. But so I kind of like decided that there's no like future. So I was actually able to tap into like just being present when we're having sex and not like having like there's no thoughts about the past because we don't have a past. And like the future, I'm like, I wasn't like thinking like, oh, like this could be something more. Like I was just like, he's here for the weekend. Let's fuck, let's have fun. Like so that was interesting. But the more and more time that I spent,
Mhm.
oh, yes. Oh, shoot. I think we can download it too from YouTube. I forgot to do that.
Okay, good.
The more and more time that I spent, I was just like, I felt like I was falling in love with him. Like,
Mm.
It sounds like so silly and like so wild, but like we were just both so open that like I was able like we I feel like our hearts were like making love to each other more than like anything else. And it's so hard to say.
Just feel into that and allow
And
that, right? Because we need more emotion. Like we need more like soul connections and like these levels of intimacy and these like, but for you to like have the like willingness and the courage to like show up and feel that and like to go into that space. And even you even went it, you said consciously, you didn't go into it with this idea that this was going to be um a long-term thing, right? But your heart is open.
it's so open. It's like so
Mm.
open. And
Mm.
it's because of all the things that I've been doing, implementing, and like working like on myself and working and like realization upon realization and there's more work and it never ends. Woo. So yeah, we were just not only were we open, we were like when one of us would like ask the question or make a suggestion, like the other one would like respond and like really listen and like really like hold space. Like I told him like make a video like right now, and he went and did like the live, like I said just now, and then we talked about like not feeling enough, and like we kind of went into like initially I went into his route of not feeling enough, and then after the story about to share, like he helped me go through that as well. And like as you know, like that's the root of all of our like how would you say it? Like the root of
Our
all
wounding, like our
our
wounding.
wounding. Yeah, not feeling enoughness, not feeling enough. So like it's so deep. It's like so deep inside, and it's like, oh, I know I'm enough. Like I understand that I am intellectually, but like,
And
is
you
it
felt
still
like he
somewhere?
was like meeting you there, right? Like he was like showing up and opening up and vulnerable and authentic and real and present. And you could feel like his heart opening as well.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
And
So then,
then last night, oh, the night before that, we went to a wonderful dance party. Oh my God, he's an incredible dancer. Wow. Like I haven't seen such dance moves in like yeah, that was just like another turn on because I love to dance and like I could be on the dance floor all day. So if someone like comes into my life and they don't like dancing, like my ex didn't really like dancing unless he was really, really drunk, you know. If someone comes into my life and they don't like the same things like that as I do, like is it like do I want to be dancing while he's sitting down? Like, no. Like, so the fact that like he had all these like components to him, like was like, oh my God, oh, ah, like jolts of like electricity and like joy. Like, oh wow, he is like, oh, and then I've done this like list of like what I want in a man, and I read it to him, and he's
Mm,
like, so which ones do you think I don't have? And
yeah.
I like said, I think you have them all. And that I think that's when it hit me that I was like, wow, like he's a really, really good man. Like I
Oh,
want I want to be with him.
oh.
Hmm. So last night we went to this amazing breathwork experience. It was actually the founder of Soma Breathwork. And it was, we did a little bit of psilocybin, got really tapped in, and it was like really beautiful initially. Like just everyone's breathing together. There's like 100 people, and
Mhm.
we're all breathing together. And like I'm already like my body's already shaking, my inner thighs are shaking. So I'm like, oh whoa, like okay, I'm getting activated. Like,
Mm.
and then I see a woman sit across from him, and they start eye gazing.
She just came
And
over.
he later shared with me that he called her over.
Because your eyes were closed.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't see like the full process, but sometimes like I would open my eyes. Like, yeah, maybe this is why they encourage like eye masks for the entire experience. But this experience, no, this experience was incredible. It was actually an initiation to like for the divine masculine, and the way that the ceremony went, it was just beyond this world. Like I am so excited that this is happening, that this kind of shift is happening in the world. The way they prefaced it is like women have initiations all the time, like when they get their moon, when they go through child labor, when they go through menopause. So it's like steps like initiation, and men don't really have that, but they did have it in a tribe setting. So this
Mm.
was kind of like that, like initiation for men. All the men stood up and the women praised them and gave them
Oh.
affirmations, and then the men spoke about what they want. A lot of men said, trust me, like surrender to me. And I like when he spoke those words, I was like, yeah, yeah.
Was that his request?
Yeah, like it was just like, no, they were like speaking to the audience, like,
No, but did this man speak that you were with?
yeah, he
What
said
was the
surrender.
surrender?
And those two words really resonated because like I feel like I haven't trusted men in a long time. I have like closed off because every like serious relationship I've had ended up being in like, you know, they went with another woman at one point. So like, yeah, the trust is like really not there. And like now I'm just, I guess I'm kind of like enjoying this like spiritual community in a way, like where freedom, like forget it, like there's no such thing as oneness or like one divine union. But I like obviously now like that's really shifting in me, and like I feel the resonance. Like I went through like that phase of like there's no such thing as divine union, like that's not how life is. But now like I mean recently, the past couple months, especially since moving to Fort Lauderdale and seeing my sister and her partner, and they have a baby, like I'm like there is divine union, there is such thing as like true love and being there for each other.
Okay, so he stood up, he said this, and then at some
Yeah,
point you look over and there's a woman sitting in front of him.
yeah,
What are they doing?
they're eye gazing, and all of a sudden I'm starting to feel like all these emotions of like jealousy and pain and like everything I experienced from the past, from all my relationships, just like comes flooding down like fucking like 10,000 little knives like sticking in my heart.
Mm.
And there was like so much pain, and then
I have goose.
everyone's doing breath, yeah, everyone's doing breath work around me, right? So I'm like, return to the breath. Inhale, suspend, squeeze the pelvic muscles. My whole body vibrating. All of a sudden, the pain is melting. Complete stillness. Pleasure, bliss.
Mm.
Then again, pain,
Mm.
jealousy, anger, frustration. And then
Mm.
I feel like the heart, the little, like the openness, just,
Mm.
and then I come back to the breath. Like breathing through the pain, like releasing it as much as I could, just like coming back to that collective consciousness of breathing and like realizing we're all feeling this pain. Like every one of us has gone through like such deep pain at one point in our life for some reason or another. And a lot of us go through this like heartache of love and relationship pain, and it fucking hurts.
Mm. And were you like getting glimpses of that? Like you're, witnessing just so it's the same
Yeah. I mean,
like
and then a lot of visuals and realizations come, like one realization and visual comes of my sweetheart from high school, like my very first like serious boyfriend, and how when after he was, chose a few other women besides me, I decided to like, you're not for me, like that doesn't feel good. And he would write me these letters that he wants to like kill himself. And then 10 years later, he ended up committing suicide. And I don't think it was just because of our end of our relationship, but like this realization came to me that I want to go host a ceremony for his family and like really host a ceremony like of really witnessing him and like his presence and like calling in his spirit and like allowing them to find like deeper peace. So I know that like through the pain that I felt him and his pain.
Mm.
And I'm like, this isn't like, we're not here to go through this pain alone. And this is where like things really shifted in a really beautiful way. So obviously, like this breath work continued. Eventually, we got out of it. I was feeling ecstatic, waves of energy rushing up my body, everything vibrating frequency. And then we started dancing, like ecstatic dance. And I danced with him and it felt good. And like it felt like he was mine again. Like, but then he would dance with her, and I'm like, and then, and I mean, everything was fine. And then we got in the car, and he shared that he thought that was his soulmate. And that's when,
Wait,
like, I was like,
wait a minute.
yeah.
So you slept together, you had this intimacy, these conversations. Had you talked about your wounding at this point, about other men?
Yes, I talked about,
So prior,
my
okay.
insecure attachment, my anxious attachment,
Uh-huh.
and when I kind of asked him, he like said that he doesn't have any. And I went into his childhood. I'm like, your parents are like, how did they treat you? Da da da. Like, and he said, oh, my childhood was great. My parents love me. They're still together. So I put him in the secure attachment category. And I was like, whoa, I've never attracted a secure attachment man because I'm always, you know, choosing the avoidant ones because my anxious attachment bonds with those. But I'm like, finally, obviously I'm doing all this work, like
So
I'm so conscious.
he knew at this point that you had wounding around men being with other women, right? And you had already been so intimate.
I don't know if being with other women is the right that I shared that really thoroughly. I shared that after this breathwork experience.
Okay, I was just curious what the setting was. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you're in
I mean,
this.
we didn't go into this intimacy like with any expectations.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't any like, oh, like, yeah, there was no, we were just like present and just
Mm.
enjoying the present. So there wasn't like a conversation to build something, right? Like,
Okay, so you didn't feel, so you had the jealousy and the old pain come up during the breath work. You felt like as you were present with him, but you felt like because you hadn't had any formal conversations about anything, like you didn't have any like right to like be upset at him.
like when he shared with me afterwards, he's like, oh, I was like nervous to call her over because I didn't want to upset you. But then I decided to follow my heart. And I honor that and I respect that.
Mhm.
And if that's truly his soulmate, like that's beautiful. That is like what we're all like striving for, right? To like meet the one and like the one, right? Like, I don't even know. Whew.
Then what
So
happened?
like, yeah, we're in the car driving and he calls her his soulmate and I just immediately shut down, like a little like cocoon, like I could just feel like I got like really silent and he asked me to share my experience. So I share obviously what I just shared with you, like all of the emotions that I was feeling and the bliss and the pain and the bliss. And we get home and And he's like, what do you need? Like, he starts asking me these questions, like, and he's telling me to go deeper into the pain.
Oh.
And then I start crying. And like, I like never cried. I feel like I've cried more like in the past 24 hours than I have in like
Oh.
3 years. So I definitely feel like there was something strong in me. And then we make love. And the next morning I wake him up with a blowjob and we make some more love because I'm like, he's leaving. Like this might be the last time I see him. And oh, I'm like, I don't know when I'm gonna have sex again because like this really fucking hurt. Like, was it worth it? I want to have sex with the man who says you're my soulmate, and I feel the same towards him. But when I said that to him, he's like, but what if that never happens? You never want to have sex in your life? I'm like, no, I do, but yeah, I think that's it. That's the gist. And now I'm just like, he's like texting me a little bit here and there, and like we're exchanging information, like exchanging this like energy still. Like he sent me a video of his dog. So like I don't know where this is going. I don't know what this is. Like obviously, like at one point he said the word letting go when we were in bed, and it like opened my heart, just those words like letting go, and I just felt like okay, I'm letting go, like I'm detaching, like this is a lesson, thank you for coming to teach me, master.
So
Detach, like
I have a few questions,
okay,
just like in like different perspectives to look at this from.
yeah.
So is this like your standard weekend? Is this like
Mm,
like being at on the like front lines of awakening? Like is every weekend like this intense as far as like the healing and the synchronicities and the like
I mean, I don't sleep with someone new every weekend, no. I've definitely been a little more like sexually active like in the past, since I'm like in the past like 2 months. So like I think I like had an interaction last month. So it's not every weekend, but every weekend there is like the opportunity to socialize and meet conscious men, because there's all these gatherings in Miami all the time, like breathwork this, ecstatic dance this. So there's always like this interaction and opportunity. But like for me to like really have that kind of a full on like love making weekend is like wild, like beyond my imaginations, and like
Okay, so I have
incredible.
things here. So there's two lenses, right? When I first heard you like speak about this and tell this story, my first lens is like just so I feel like my heart feels so open just by you sharing it, right? Just by like you going through this and you experiencing this and like you opening up to this much pain, like in a way of like allowing it to move through you, that is like collective healing, right? That I think it really is so crucial for us to learn how to feel pain and to allow it and to process it and like go deep into it.
Mhm.
I think that is like will be a game changer for society, right? If we can learn that. So yay,
Mm.
Masha, for processing our pain and our collective pain. I think, and this is, and we have patterns that pop up as well, right? And so this was like a trigger for you, that somebody that you're opening up to, you're really going deep with, you're opening up to love and intimacy, and then you're having to witness already, like at the very, in this like microcosm of a weekend to like process so much, right? You went through like a 1 year, at least like relationship in a weekend, right? Of
It
like
did
all the
really feel
stages,
like it. Yeah.
right? Of all the stages. Okay. And so I'm part of this like Kundalini awakening group where this gentleman, he was sharing a story about how like the universe wants to trigger us because it wants us to feel our pain. Okay? So I think there's like a couple ways to look at this, but like one way, so he went through like this big heartbreak. he separated from this like his twin flame that had all of, and she like left for another man, right? And he was feeling betrayed and heartbroken, and he like really like went and like cocooned for a bit. And then one night he like got an invitation to a party, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna go to this party. And then he's like not enjoying it, doesn't want to be there. And then he got a ride offered to him to go home. And on the way home, he was like stuck in the back of this tiny car with like two guys that he barely knew in the front seat. And they started blasting this song by the Killers that's like all about betrayal. And they're like singing it and like rocking out. And they're like, and he's like stuck in the back right after this heartbreak. And he said it was like this cartoonish, like big, like it's like the universe is like, be like it's like prompt like stabbing him into that wound, right? Of like he synchronistically like ending up in this backseat. Every word of the song is like hitting his heart, right? And he's like trapped in the backseat, and like the music is like blaring. And he wanted to just scream and get out, and instead he just like sat with that pain that was coming up and like was just like, I love you, I love you, I love you. But it took
Mm.
him like being in the world and being in this setting, and like the universe gave him his trigger, right? It's like,
Mm.
and he couldn't have like felt that deeply into that pain had he not been trapped in the back of this coupe with like two guys like singing every word that like was crushing his heart, right? And then when he got home, he had like this rock that had been in his stomach like since the heartbreak, and then it finally like moved and transformed. But he like
Mm.
it took, so the universe like brought him all the way into that wounding, and like brought him the triggers, brought him the pain, brought him like everything he needed to like fully like digest and process the pain. So that's one way to look at this, is like you got exactly what you needed. Like you got the medicine that you needed. You got like the love and the opening and the heart. And then you get to like, and then the universe was like, look at this, Masha, look at this, feel this. I want to be felt through you, right? Like,
Mm.
and it like brought it to you in like almost like a cartoonish way of like, I mean, it's like bewildering to me that a man would sleep with you the night before and then invite over like and then go home with you. Like that's not like standard behavior, and so I think that the
What
fact
is standard?
that's true. Yeah, that's true. But it's what I'm curious. Okay, it's like that's one way to look at it. Is like, do you feel like this was here, this was all good medicine for you, and this was here to like bring you deeper into your fullest awakening and to fully process that pain?
Definitely, yeah. And then it was here for like I feel like every time I'm meeting someone now, it's like getting closer and closer to like my dream,
Mm.
my desire, that like the universe is almost like testing me or like pushing me
Mm.
to feel all that is still like blocking me and release that, so that when the king does show up, like I am fully ready and present. And
Well, and it's like bringing you to full surrender. If it's like, hey, get down on your, it's like rock bottom too, of like,
yeah, and I'm so motivated after like these interactions to create, to speak, to like work on myself, to like there is like this motivation. And this is the challenging part for me. Like, is it a motivation because I don't feel like I'm enough?
Mhm.
Or is it a motivation because like something has awoken in me?
Mm, or because you're transmuting the pain. You're like digesting it and processing it into art or creativity. Okay, there's one other lens that I want. Go ahead. Do you have something first?
No, no, no. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So this is me, right? Woo woo, like, oh, it's all Masha, this is so beautiful. This is for your heart opening. This is for your expansion. Like you called him in to help you like feel this pain all the way in, right? And that like,
Yeah.
oh, like this is all good. So, but I have one of these men in my life. So I have one of these men with they have like the whole thing, they're like the, the masculine. And and my husband is not, does not go to breathwork classes. He doesn't go to yoga, right? He's not in the awakening scene, but I kind of like retold the story a little bit of like just what I had known so far. And his response was like, he sounds like a predator. Or
A
like,
predator?
well, okay, so this is just one other lens
Yeah,
that I
yeah,
want to look at this through. He's like, okay, so
yeah.
women are coming to these spaces. They're opening, they're in this like like this, like they're releasing all of their guards, right? They're letting all their guards down. And if like, and I think we're reawakening to what is divine masculine? Like, what does that look like? And like this man, I mean, there's we're like rewiring what good and bad is, right? But he didn't treat you well. Like if he, like with this other woman interaction, that like through some lens, right? Was he being in integrity, or was he being like his divine masculine by like having you open up so vulnerably to him? And then so it's just another lens to look at it through, is like, are men showing up with full integrity in these spaces? And when they're having a woman open themselves up so much to them, like, are they able to like stay within their like divine energy and their divine masculine, and to like hold, like, you are a temple, you are like you are a queen, you are the queen. And like the one lens is like, okay, this is all medicine, this was all good. And one lens is like, what the fuck? Like, what, like, are the same like as men that go to like clubs when women are drunk, right? And they're like their guard is down, and they like, and unfortunately, like, we as women have to like remember that like men, they do want to get laid. Like at the end of the day, that's like a huge, and like, are they acting with integrity in these spaces? Are they acting in integrity with the heart opening that's happening in women? And are they like holding you and cherishing you? And like, if you're going to have someone like open up to you like that, like, I don't think that was like behavior that was divine masculine. And so it's just something really worth considering, is like, yeah, like, you can transmute this and use this. And but like, I think men that are in these like conscious awakening spaces, they need to like check themselves. Like, are they, getting drunk with the openness of women and like ravaging it, just like they've done at every other stage in humanity, right? Like, does that any of that land with you? Or like, do you feel like that they are, you know, it's going to take one more thing about this I was thinking is like, we have to call them into their kingness, right? Like, we are their moms. Like, we birth them,
Mhm.
and we're like bringing them into this world, and we are like training them, but like, they are new to this awakening space. Like, women are taking like the steps first, right? Like, we're
Mhm.
opening these doors, and then they're coming into them, but they're coming in with toxic patterns, and they're coming in with like a history of predatory, of like taking advantage of women, and so we got to clean all that shit up. Because if they're going to be like holding you in that space, Mosh, and like letting you open, like, he needs to honor, like, you are a goddess. You deserve to be held and cherished and claimed. And this behavior is not welcome anymore. This behavior of like consuming our sexuality, right? They like want to consume us and then like move on. And I just want to say that that's like one other lens to consider, is like, was he in his divine masculine? Was he in full integrity? Or is he, is there still spiritual bypassing that men are using in a way that is hurting women still? And it's just worth
It's
considering.
by calling someone their soulmate, potential soulmate. Is that what you mean by spiritual bypassing?
Spiritual bypassing in the way of like, feel your pain but fuck me still. Of like, I mean, like, it's just like, we want to call it, like, look at it for like what it is. Like, it could, like, yes, this was like so medicinal and so big for you, but like, I just like from the outside lens of like a woman of like you weren't honored and treated in the way that you should be, you know? And so like are these men in these conscious spaces, are they really in their divine masculine? Like can they be in integrity? Like we're asking them like stand up, like be in your integrity and like I just don't want I just think we need to be like super on alert for men that are wearing the like they're having oh okay one more quote Mike Adyashanti he's like such a beautiful spiritual teacher he's like yeah you've had spiritual experiences yeah you're having an awakening and you're still an asshole so like why does it matter I just want to like bring that in of like questioning that of like it can be both. It can be good medicine, transmuting magic and medicine, and maybe he could have behaved in a way that would have been more in alignment with divine masculine integrity. Um, and like honoring the female and the feminine. I bet how do you think she felt with like both him going back and forth to both energies as well?
Probably not great. And that's why she left, like, or like earlier in the night versus staying throughout the event.
But they're like drunk on this power of like open women, and your guard is totally down, right? You're doing de-armoring work. Your guard is down, your heart is open. And like we need men to like figure out how to handle that and respect that and like honor and cherish that because that is a gift. You are a portal to the divine, Masha.
Mm.
And I just want the best for you and I love you and I'm so glad you shared your story. And maybe it's, you know, both and, but I just don't want us to let that behavior fully off the hook of like, oh, it's just, you know, it's just like let's call people into integrity as well.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, obviously, like after that, like I don't want to pursue anything with him, and like you know, like there is nothing to pursue, even though like my little brain goes into fantasy land, and still, even after that, but maybe like there is that little voice, but maybe, and I'm like, no, like.
But he he didn't like treat you the way that you need to be treated and he showed his all of his colors. You had your
Yeah.
year-long relationship over a weekend, right? So you see the full colors there of what he has to offer
Cool
you.
colors.
And
Yeah.
I think we have to like I don't know what divine union looks like. I don't know what polyamory versus monogamy. I don't know what the right answer is or if there is one or like what we're going to find. But I do know that like hurting people and like in a way that like will actually harm them after the fact and like calling it like it's just we have to like really look at it in like a clear lens of like I don't know it doesn't feel entirely right in my body of what happened to you.
Thank you for sharing this space with me and allowing me to fully express. And
And if you want to go
uh,
back to the medicinal lens of like it was all for the highest, it was all meant to be, then you know definitely go with that. But like we got to make
interestingly enough, uh, someone who wanted to be a client of mine who kind of like backed out called me today and kind of we he what he shared with me was going through pain and how he's using like his sexuality and like distractions to avoid, and because of what I just experienced I was able to guide him into like sit with the pain, and like now we're gonna continue to work together. So that's why I feel like that this like video is
Mhm.
powerful because like we're all going through this collectively of like feeling the pain. So like let's not distract and let's not use other vices to like push away the pain. Let's really feel it and like talk about it, share so that we can really let it out. And the more that we do that together, the more we're healing, right? Because why do people hurt people? Usually people who hurt people are the ones who are hurting the most. And why
Mhm.
are you hurting? Because you have pain that you haven't been able to fully sit with, or you haven't fully expressed or spoke about. So like I think this is like part of my work and my higher purpose, like actually returning back to what you're saying, like yeah, like this somewhat is for the highest good. I believe that as well. So
Will you
yeah.
keep us updated about the world on the front lines of the spiritual awakening community and conscious dating? Because yeah, I just don't want
We'll be
men
here
to
every Monday at 8.
every money at 8, but I just want us,
5 p.m. 5 p.m. PST, 8 p.m.
I want to
EST.
make sure that these men that are saying that they're going through these awakenings are acting with integrity. And if
So
send them to me if they hurt you.
we're putting this question out to them.
Yeah,
That's
'cause
actually
what? Yeah.
that's actually like the client that I spoke to today. And he was sharing his pain and how his current girlfriend is doing these things to him that remind him of the ex, and then how he's kind of doing the same thing back. And I'm like, what if you showed up differently and like did showed up as who, like what if she's doing it to you because you're doing it to her, and you think she's doing it to you, so you're doing it to her. Like what if you showed up and stepped up and did and treated her the way that you want to be treated. So
Yes.
like I challenged him. I'm like, you stand up and show up and treat the one you're with, whether it's forever or right now, the way you would want to be treated.
Or
So
better.
that is not a question I asked him. Like, what if that was me on the other side, eye gazing with someone for, you know, the entire experience? Like that would be an interesting, if he could imagine that scenario, I wonder how he would feel.
Yeah. Because we need to, you're frozen. We'll
You're
see if
frozen.
you're frozen. Maybe that's our sign.
Yeah, I feel complete. Oh, there we
I
go.
love you so much. I hope my protective bestie energy will not color any of your processing, but I think it is just if anybody who listens to this or watches this or like wants to share their experiences of like conscious dating, conscious men, how are we like when are we just like triggering each other like to process our pain, right? And to go deeper into that, or when are we being reckless with each other's hearts? And I think it's really worth considering and talking about.
I do want to add, this is something I wanted to discuss with you to see what your opinion is. Like when he was sharing with me why he called her over, he said because her heart seemed closed and he wanted to help her breathe into it. So he
So
kind of like that savior complex.
yeah. So what
So it's
what my husband would have said is, yeah, he wanted to bang her too. That's it. I mean, he's looking at it from this very male, very like even if they're, oh, he's looking at like calling bullshit for what it is. And so maybe he wanted to open her heart, maybe he wanted another pussy, right? Like it's just it's really interesting. And so I think we have to look at it through these lenses of like yes, like maybe he's open, maybe he cares, maybe his heart is open, maybe people are still acting out of integrity. And that's like what I want us to like hold both of those because you deserve your king, right? You deserve to
mm,
be treated well. And we have to kind of raise them up into kings. And I do not think that was kingly behavior. But
dude,
I
I treated him like a
love
fucking king all weekend, cooked for him, gave him like so many words of affirmation, acts of service, like physical touch, quality time, gifts, like showered him. It was, yeah, I haven't treated someone like that in a long
we
time.
want to do that. We want to do that to men. We love it. But but they need to learn how to hold that energy and like not become greedy for more or like I don't know. I think it's going to be a long evolution until men are in their divine masculine. But I'm not going to give up on them.
Woo! I'm not giving up.
You are a queen. You nothing has gone wrong here, and even if there was elements of both of these lenses that were active, it was all it all is what it is, and your heart is more open, and you opened my heart because of it, and I'm just so grateful for everything you shared, and I can't wait to learn more and hear about it. Bring one of them on. I want to interview them. And we'll bring on
Stay tuned.
yeah. We'll
Yeah, you want me to bring him on? He'll probably be down.
yes, yeah, I want to interrogate him.
I love you so
Thank
much. Thank
you.
you, whoever was watching.
Have
Bye.
a